Back again for a little bit more thrifting. This time we're at this Goodwill here. I've never been to this one before, so I have no idea what's in store for me. So let's have a look inside and see if there's anything worth picking up today. It's a surprisingly huge and well-stocked Goodwill. Tons of bags, tons of purses on the racks, and a huge media shelf. All your standard DVDs and box sets are here, your Family Guys, your Seinfelds, everything that everyone would look for and that everyone's been donating over the last 15 years. And a lot of audio CDs on the rack as well. I didn't take any time to go through the audio CDs because it's just not a hobby of mine, but I did look through the vinyl records as I always do, and not unexpectedly, there was absolutely nothing of interest at all. Lots of old musicals from the 60s and 70s, a few just compilation albums, nothing too special or out of the ordinary, or certainly nothing that piqued my interest. But as I was flipping through, past the Nana Muscuri, I did recognize something that kind of jumped out at me. Past the Barbra Streisand, past the Tom Jones, past the other Nana Muscuris, there was this album, The Moms and Dads, which I remember from seeing twice in episode 2. So that was obviously a very popular album back in the day. Over here to the board games and puzzles, nothing out of the ordinary at all, nothing too spectacular, just your standard craniums and scenics and everything like that. And an incredibly well-stocked sports section here. Lots of rollerblades and skates and golf clubs, and really an amazing selection of shoes here as well. Like, I'm not a shoe guy, so I don't know if any of these are good or worthwhile or anything, but they look to be in pretty good shape and all look to be pretty clean too. And just past that was this incredible stuffed Black Panther. Now, this is a really nice accent piece. I'm sure somebody will put that in their bedroom. But how do you wash it? Like, you gotta wash specially plush toys that come from the thrift store. He was nice and soft, and he was only $15. So someone's gonna have a nice, sexy Black Panther piece of decor in their room, but it certainly is not going to be me. And around the corner from the Panther was another aquarium setup. You're seeing more and more of these days, and I guess these speakers are for playing rock music. Not the least interesting speakers we're going to see so far on our journey today. And digital photo frames are also apparently going out of style now. So, because you see them all over the place all the time at the thrift store. And this one caught my eye, an old style Canon slide and scan digital film scanner. So I guess you'd slide your slides in there. But for $70? Are you kidding me? What is going on? This Linksys N300, though, this would have been a nice addition for somebody's PC. And I had never seen this before. An Xbox game manager. I had a lot of trouble figuring out what this thing was and how it works. But it turns out it's kind of like a UPS and surge protector that is just Xbox themed. And I guess the little cartridges at the front are where you put the Xbox discs and the games and things. I had a really tough time getting into the cartridges and trying to figure out where or how I would put the games in. But a really interesting piece of video game history. I've never seen one of these before. And I guess there's space for, it looks like about 10 Xbox games, but I could not, certainly not with one hand, figure out how to get this thing open and see what was inside. Beside the Xbox Game Manager was your standard pile of old and yellowing calculators, and above those was one of these ultraviolet decontaminating cleanser things. I think people were buying those a lot around COVID and just getting rid of them now. And this ancient webcam that had a lot of rattling parts on the inside, they were asking $10 for it. A little bit of vintage looking glassware here, $5 each, way out of my price range. These drinking glasses looked to be real crystal, but again, $5 each, way too expensive for me. And you got your standard complement of, crock pots and panini presses and stuff on the appliance shelf. I always want to check out anything with an App Store logo on it, but this is just an IKEA TradFi smart light. They were asking $25 for it. I think they're cheaper than that new. And this Govee lighting strip had seen better days, so back on the shelf it went. Felt gross after touching it. The haunted creepy dolls were out in full force on the knickknacks shelf, gotta love that. And a collection of wired headphones, wired earbuds for $3 each, actually not too bad. Around the corner, a very, very ratty looking lampshade. I don't know, gross. Couldn't even imagine what it smelled like. But this surfboard lamp was kind of cool. I thought about it for a second, but I think I'll leave that for someone else. Nothing too spectacular on the art wall at all. Your standard selection of show home prints, and just on the opposite side, this strange looking lamp, which I'm sure would make a lovely decoration for somebody, but it's certainly not to my taste. Past the wedding dresses now, on to the glass containers, where we found a selection of kind of vintagey looking cameras and of course your standard old VR headsets that probably don't work anymore, an Apple Care protection plan in a box for an old iMac, and a blue mic just on the left there. Pretty cool. Grandma's old china also is here, so stock up on Grandma's old china for probably a ridiculously inflated price. And I did really like the look of this mantle clock. It's kind of an antique looking thing. It actually in pretty good shape. It did need a bit of restoration though. This will make a very nice project for somebody who has more talent, skill, and patience than me. I did consider just taking this home and putting it on my mantelpiece just as a nice decoration, but I kind of thought I'd leave it for somebody else who could actually put the time and effort into restoring it properly. And just underneath the clock was Sexploration, the board game, no thanks. And by the door, there was just a few selections of board games and dolls and things all new in their boxes. Nothing that I really wanted to look closely at or take home with me at all. It's very windy outside, so I've decided to film this part inside my car. Wow, unbelievable prices at that Goodwill. I couldn't believe some of the things I was seeing. They wanted $15 for an Apple Care box, which I think is not even useful or relevant anymore. I guess they just saw the Apple logo and decided to slap an expensive price tag on it. Anyway, nothing at all worthwhile in that Goodwill. Let's move on to the next one. I think we're going to stop at the Value Village that's just up the road here and have a look in there. And second stop of the day is this massive Value Village behind me. This actually used to be a grocery store, so it's a really huge location. I've been here a couple times. They do have a few interesting things, so hopefully we'll have some finds today. Let's have a look inside and see what we can find. And the big stack of Rubbermaid bins was on offer so that you can store all of your amazing thrift store finds. Around from that were the skis and the crutches, which I thought were amusing to be found on the same display rack. Everyone's very first Linksys Wi-Fi router when Wi-Fi was starting to become ubiquitous, wireless G. And the largest universal remote control I've ever seen. I'm sure that people with visual impairments would appreciate that. Certainly not for me, nor for me is this Crossley turntable. I'm going to pass on that. Another thing I'm going to pass on, but I found very interesting, a Sears branded paint sprayer you just plug in and spray. A pretty heavy-duty Lexmark printer that probably was really expensive back in the day. I was going to pass on it, though. Printing is like a thing for old people. Above that, speaking of things for old people, the iOmega zip drive, a really interesting piece of computing history. This one, an external model with the big fat serial connector on it. I wonder if it clicks. Certainly not for me. I wouldn't risk it at all. And another interesting piece of video game Xbox history, the EA Active 2, never seen or heard of that before. And just below that were these very interesting Speakercraft AIM-7 in-ceiling speakers. I'm a bit of a home theater enthusiast, so I seriously considered these because they were asking, I think, $44.99 each. And actually at the store, I looked them up. They're up on eBay for $125 right now. So if I'd had a place to install them, I definitely would have walked away with those, but I don't have anywhere to put them, but somebody's going to have a great find with those. Also a VCR that is $30? $25? What even is that? What are they charging $30 for a VHS player for? I can't even believe that. And then there was also an assorted collection of broken and not very functional mechanical keyboards with a bunch of keycaps missing. And around on the knickknacks shelf, I came across the Star Trek The Next Generation models, and a fellow thrifter had some input on those.
Too much, eh?
Unbelievable.
Crazy.
Yeah, they were asking $35 each for these models. No thanks, way too expensive. Interesting piece of board game history around the corner from that, though. The Entertainment Tonight trivia game. I was curious, but it's too expensive for me. Jesus Christ. Just past Jesus, an incredibly rare thrift store find. 6 new old stock blank VHS tapes. Some VHS enthusiast is going to have a great day, feel like they hit the jackpot, but not me. Back on the shelf they go. They were only $10. Now what the hell even is this? The working girl's doodle pad where I guess you just draw in the dicks? And its companion piece, the working man's doodle pad, where I guess you just draw in the boobs. Weird stuff from the 70s. I'm always on the lookout to add some things to my bar cabinet. This is like a crystal decanter. I took a look on the inside. I mean, it was only $10, but on the inside it looked a little bit cloudy and it wasn't really the kind of style I was looking for, so back on the shelf it went. And a little piece of Disney history from the Downtown Disney Rainforest Cafe hurricane glass here. Don't need that. Don't drink a lot of hurricanes. Your standard selection of soda streams, of course, on the appliance shelf. And just down from that, in the office supply section, a 5-port gigabit switch for $9. That's going to be a good deal for someone. Massive, massive, massive selection on the art shelf at this particular Value Village. I had a pretty close look. There was nothing really that piqued my interest. I like to look for original prints that are numbered and signed and things like that. Just anything that's pretty unique. None of this stuff was particularly unique. This caught my eye, though. I almost got that, but I decided against it at the last minute. This interesting vintage board game, Yum, which is an exciting dice game of skill and good management. I don't know why it's called Yum. Don't know how it could be a dice game of skill and good management, but didn't want to spend the $5 to find out. I did spend a lot of time flipping through these records, but as expected, it was a whole lot of nothing, just old-timey country and fiddle music and stuff. And you know what? I'm sure somebody wants to find these things, but it's certainly not to my taste. And, I'm always hoping to find that one record that's amazing in there, but I haven't come across that one yet, except for that this guy is Jurgen. So that's something we learned today. Over to the toys now, a bag of very boring looking action figures, not sure what those are about, and a very, very frightening, I guess that's a Ron Weasley doll. No thanks, back he goes. Nothing too much here. We're going to take off and maybe go find another thrift store because this one was a little bit disappointing in terms of price. Definitely a mixed bag at this Value Village. A couple things that were priced really well and a couple things that were just absolutely outrageous. How about those Star Trek models for $35? What even is that? Anyway, we're going to move on to the next one now. I'm just driving by this place on my way to my next stop. Super Deals with a Z. I don't think it's a thrift store. I think it's more like a liquidation place, but I'm going to have a look inside anyway. Now, I was immediately overwhelmed walking into Super Bins. It's literally just bins filled with all kinds of stuff. So Super Bins is not just a clever name. It's literally just bins of stuff in it. And lots of things that I wouldn't buy at a store like this, like, say, deodorant. That was the only one. There weren't a bunch of them, but there were a bunch of things like these pastries. They were almost expired, but not quite expired. There were hundreds of boxes of these things lying all over the store. And most shockingly of all, this is wild boar salami. Now, this had an expiry date of October, and I filmed this video in January, so long expired meat.
Is that meat? No way. Is it?
Expired in October, yeah.
Yeah, but shouldn't it be refrigerated?
I would think so, yeah. The whole Super Bins experience was very weird and very unusual for me. They kept moving the bins around even as people were looking through them. Like the staff would just come over and grab a bin and start dragging it across the sales floor. There was like a record and there was all kinds of like phone cases and stuff, just weird things all over the place. If there was a problem, I'll solve it. Check out. And there was probably about 50 bins, and most of them had this kind of density of stuff in it. Some of the boxes were empty. I think people were just opening the boxes and pocketing things. It wouldn't be too hard to do that here. There's some more food. Of all the things to buy at Super Bins, I don't know about food. It seems a little sketchy to me. There's just random stuff, like weird CDs that I'd never heard of. There's a pile of those pastries that I was telling you about before that I was showing you, almost expired, but not quite expired. There was way too much to look at here. A box of Fruity Pebbles, I was feeling overwhelmed and overstimulated by the time I was ready to leave. But on the way out, I did have to stop in and have a careful look at their display, like their close to the register display stuff, which is where their expensive things were. There was an Ember cup for $95, and I think you can get them new for not too much more than that. And this thing was literally labeled recycle. Somebody had thrown that out, and these guys thought, nah, we'll just grab it. There's some inexpensive drones from Amazon. Yeah, I got to get out of here. Wow, I don't even know where to begin with all that. It felt like it was one step above dumpster diving. And look, not casting any dispersions on anyone who kind of needs to shop there because of their economic realities. And I mean, obviously there are some pretty good deals to be had, but I just wonder if, kind of the amount of stuff that we're churning out as a planet is contributing to some difficult environmental situations. And, it's not always easy to make that kind of determination. It's hard to know if you're doing the right thing by buying something at a discount or a thrift store So after Super Bins, I was feeling pretty adventurous, and I wanted to go check out a thrift store that my friend Paul told me about. And he went there and he said it was absolutely ridiculous, adding that the 1.5 out of 5 Google rating was too generous. So I was super curious. I had to go check it out. I popped the lenses out of my meta glasses so I could go in a little bit undercover, but when I got there, it was closed, even though it was 11:30 on a weekday. So I'm gonna make sure that I come back another time and check out this ridiculous thrift store. Thanks for watching the video all the way to the end. Let me know in the comments what your most amazing thrift store find has ever been. And if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit that like button and get subscribed, because I plan on taking you along on some more of my thrift store adventures in the future. In the meantime though, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.